So the general idea of this live stream is that we called it office hours because it's like an informal way of getting like a Q&A session going. And the idea of this is for people who want to learn to use the Cuddle editor to create their own templates. And I figured this way we could answer some questions and like show you some things in a kind of laid back way. So I'm going to have a very loose structure. You can leave questions in the chat. I'll be checking that out. There are also a couple of people from Cuddle, like Toby and Moki, watching the chat. But mostly I'll be answering the questions here. So let's see. So yeah, it's going to be very loose. And I'm going to start with a kind of general overview of what we were talking about, so you have an idea. And then I'm going to answer a couple of questions that were left in the chat before. And yeah, so we'll go from there. See how this goes. All right, so let's get started with these. So what I have here, where you see on the screen, is the Cuddle editor. Some of you might be familiar with it. Some of you might have interacted with Cuddle's templates. Actually, I'm going to open the templates here just to give you a sense of what that looks like. So when I go to templates, most of you might have interacted with Cuddle in this fashion, where you see a template on the screen, and then you can make some changes. By the way, my name is Federico with Cuddle. I forgot to introduce myself. But Cuddle also has, or is mostly an editor, an SVG editor, where you can do a lot of things, including those templates. So all the templates you see here, or all the templates that we have released that you can interact with in this fashion, have been made using the Cuddle editor. So let's get started with a couple of examples to show you what I'm talking about. So the goal is to get you introduced to making your own templates, and the templates can be things that you do for yourself to help you save time, or to maybe share with people that work on your business to get them to make files really quickly. So I'm going to start with a very simple example. So I'm going to make something where I can have a name, and then we'll apply a couple of operations to that. So I'm watching the chat, so yeah, feel free to ask me any questions as I go. But let's get started with these. So I'm going to start with something like a name, and I'm going to use the very popular connected text here. I'm going to place it here in the center of the canvas. And so this one allows me to create text that is connected, so it's easy to cut on a laser cutter because all the letters are joined together, so it doesn't fall apart. So here's the idea. If I want to change the name that is, or the whatever is written here, I can click on it, and then if I go here to the right, I can actually change what it says. So I could say write my name. Make this a little bit bigger. So I could say write my name or anyone else's name, or say the name of the platform. So Cuddle. And this isn't very different from how you would use the editor so far. But say, for example, I want like 2 instances of this object. So if I duplicate it, I can right click on it and duplicate it. Let's say one of those instances I wanted to have like an expand. So let's say I'm making like a keychain. So I'm going to select it, and I'm going to expand it. I'm going to go here to modify and add this modifier called expand. So that adds a sort of offset to the thing. And then to make it clear, I'm going to give the other one a fill. So this would be like a good start for a keychain, because I could say cut this outline. I'm going to make it red. So it's clear that's a cut. So I could cut that outline and then engrave the letters in the middle. But let's say I want to have just an entirely different name. So the usual operation I would have to do is like, let's say I changed here the name to Federico, and then my outline didn't update. So that's like double work. I have to go into the outline and then write the name again. And now they match. But an easy way to do these is to create a parameter. So I can create a parameter by clicking the plus sign here. You'll see that there's a little thing that says new parameter. So I'm gonna call it the name, and you can give these parameters names, or it can be anything you can have any name that you want. I can double click here to change it, and let's say I want that to be the name. So let's say let's use. So sorry, I'll be making some mistakes, of course. So I want this parameter to be text. So let's say I call it. So what I want to do now is plug in this parameter into the text I created. So I'm going to select one. And here, it's a little tricky with text, but like if we click on the three dots here on the right, I can click edit expression. And then I'm going to type name, because that is the name of my parameter. So as you can see, that updated to Monique. And then the other one also, I'm going to click on the right, edit expression, and then I'm going to type name. So this seems like a lot of work for something really simple, but the power of this is that now I only need to update the name, and then both instances get changed. So let's type something else like Toby. So the sort of magic that happened here is that, from here, it sort of gets plugged into the two instances of the connected text. And so that is my very basic template. So, templates can be as complex or as simple as you can imagine. But like, this is a very simple example where we're using a single parameter to change two things at the same time. And now to fill you more into what a template looks like is, so here what we're looking at on the screen is the editor. And so if you hand these to someone else, they would be like, someone that might not be familiar with editing things, they will see all these things on the screen and they wouldn't necessarily know where to go. They might know that they can go here to change something. But with Cuddle, you get these optional space that is sort of simplified. And that one is called the README. So here on the left-hand side, you'll see that there is an option that says README. This is kind of like an old school reference, I guess, programs, back in the old days when you downloaded programs from the internet or something, there would be a file called README, meaning, read this file. And so that's somewhat where this name comes from. But this is a place where you can add notes. I can create, this is helpful if you have your project private and you can create your notes or add pictures. And additionally, you can sort of put components in here. So a component is something like what I just created. And so actually I can give it a name. Let's call it the key. Expanded. You can name about everything in Cuddle. So I'm gonna go back to the README, and then here you see that I get these options. So you can add images or videos or a component. And so I'm gonna click on the component, and then I only created one, so that's the one that appears there. So when I click on it, then I get this sort of simplified view. Let me check the chat for a moment. Can you release compound pad in the cut line to remove the little cut speckle under the T? Yeah, actually, I'll answer that. Well, Toby answered it, but I'm going to finish this and then I'll answer that question, which is kind of cool. So here I'm showing you the README view that we can. We also call it the packaged view here. If I click here, packaged. So you see in this view, like everything disappears, the editor disappears, all the other options that someone might get confused with disappear, and I only get the parameter I created and then the thing to download. So here I now can type any name. I'm going to type the name of my cat, and And then I get this kind of very straightforward way of just downloading an SVG. So this is the basic of templates. I created the most basic template I could think of. There might be something more basic, but and then here, you can get, you can download an SVG, and then it gets you the, this download prompt, and I can download that. And then if I want to go back to make any edits, I can hit here, edit in Cuddle. Sometimes it's going to, because I make some changes, it's going to ask me if I want to clear them or keep them. I'm going to keep them in this case, and then it returns me back to the editor. The last thing I'll mention about templates is, before I go into more the questions in the chat. So something that's very useful is that you can share your templates as a link, and then share them with anyone online or with your coworkers or your friends. So I need to go to this share option here on the top menu. And there are three options. Private is the default, which is only I, the owner of the template or the project, only I can see it. There's this version called unlisted. And then when I click that, you'll see that immediately generates, it publishes the version and allows me to copy a link. So when I grab this link, if I copy it, and then I can share it in my email or anywhere else, I can paste it somewhere like this. And then it will give me the view, this package view I was talking about. I could even share this one in the chat. I'm going to share it right there. So quick demonstration of how quick I can share a template. So there it is. Cool. Next is, yeah, so I'm going to answer the question that was asked about like removing the holes to sort of keep working on this template. Oh, sorry. So in the share option, there is a third option that says public. And if you read here, it says anyone can view this project and it will be listed on your public profile page. What that means is that Cuddle has a profile page that looks like this. I'm going to show you mine. So here's my profile page, and these are the projects I chose to make public. So as you can see, these are not all the projects I have made. There are just a few that I chose to make public. So in general, it's better to leave it unlisted unless you really want to make it public. Unlisted is just kind of like for general kind of use and exchanging things. But cool, let's try and answer this question about the holes. So yeah, one cool thing to do here in this case is to remove those little holes that appear. There's actually an option to do that. So if I select just the outline, I can select it here in the inspector on the right-hand side. So I can add another modifier here. It's called remove holes. So it's down here in the modify menu towards the bottom. And so that one is very convenient because it just removes all the holes and it leaves it leaves it like a very clean outline. And so we can engrave the middle. Let's try with other examples. What was the other one? Monique. No holes there. And Toby was the one that had the little hole. Let's see. So let me see the other question. Says, going back to the beginning, can I choose a different font on the fly? Example text is created. Okay, let me answer this one first. So can I choose a different font? And this is another cool example. We can use another parameter. So let's say every time I select one of these, I get the option to change the font. And Latasha says, thanks. I'm glad it was helpful. So the font could be another parameter that can be used here. So, and here I'm going to show you another example on how you can, give me 1 second. I need to check yeah. So I'll show you another example for creating a parameter that is a little bit easier. So here we go. There is a font on this version, and there is a font for this one. So I can click these three dots here next to the font, and then there is an option that says extract as parameter. So this is just like a very quick way of doing it. So here we go. Now it appears here as the font. And if I change this font, you'll see that it only changed the one. Oh, that's pretty wacky. It only changed the one for the name, but I now want to connect this font also to the outline. So I'm going to select the outline here, and then I'm going to do something similar. I'm going to click Edit Expression, and now here I need to change the font. I guess that name is a little confusing because I just called it font, but like to be clear, I'm going to call it my example font. And so you'll see that if I select the name itself, my example font is what is selected. And if I select the outline, my example font is what is selected. And now if I change this one, then both of those objects will change. And then let's look at it in the README. So now in the README, we have two options. We added two options for this parameter. We have the name. So let's confirm that everything's working. I'm going to put the name of my other cat. And then, of course, I can change the font here, and the font will update nicely. So this project is growing. So we have a name and a font. And I guess another super common thing to do with this kind of project is to add, like, say, a hole. So I'm gonna do that before I answer the next question. So. I guess this is kind of looking like a keychain. let's make it. I'm trying to find a kind of interesting font. Also, in this expand, I actually like the miter to be round. I think it kind of gives it a nicer look. And then let's try the name. So let's say I want to make this into a keychain. So I can add a circle here, and I'm going to change the scale of that circle. And then an easy way to do it is to create an outline. So if I make that circle into an outline like so, it kind of gives me the whole, the hole with the sort of thickened line. And so what I want to do is join that circle to the outline. But actually, before I do that, I'm just going to do the next kind of parameter that I can do is like the size of the hole. Because so far for parameters, we used a name, the font, but now I want the scale, which is a simple number. So let's say I want that hole to be, 0.25 inches. And as a default, it has the name P1. Let's just call it hole size. I think in general, it's nice to have descriptive names for your parameters. And additionally, sometimes it's very helpful to add comments to your parameters. So for example, if I click here on the three dots next to the right of the parameter, you'll see that there is an option that says add comment. And it lets you write a little note. These notes are super helpful for someone who hasn't used. So I can say, I'm going to comment my hole size parameter. I'm going to say, this changes the size of the hole. But so far, it doesn't change anything because I just created it, but I didn't kind of connect it to the hole, so to the circle. So I'm going to click the circle, and the circle has a scale option. And in that scale option, I'm going to plug in that hole size. There is also autofill here. So whenever I start typing, you'll see that a little prompt appears. And so now let's make sure it's working. So if I change the hole size, I can scrub it. You'll see how it changes. And then the last thing I need to do is to join the outline to that hole. So I'm going to select the circle here. I can select it here too. Select the circle and then select the outline. And then I'm gonna apply a union. And that's our kind of basic keychain. There are more things we could do, but let's look at it in the README. So we can change the name. Name example. We can change the whole size. And then we can change the font. With some fonts, we'll get some issues with the whole placement, but that's for another live stream. Okay, let's see. Let me check the chat. Is there a global parameter list that we can use in new projects? It's a good question. The question is if I understand it well, if there are like parameters that apply to all of your projects. Not right now. Every time you start a new project, you have to create all new parameters. But something that it's possible that some people do sometimes is that you can actually copy things from one project to the other. So you can sort of create, you could create your own sort of template with the parameters that you use most often. I'll show you in practice, since they're yeah, so yeah, people are talking in the chat. So yeah, the parameters are local to the project. But yeah, I guess another example of like sort of global parameters is that you can actually change the units of the project. So if I go to units and settings, I can change it here from inches to millimeters or other things. I'm gonna keep it to inches. And the example I was talking about is that, let's say if I have another project, I can always like copy and paste. This is a new one. Let's see, new project. And so if I go back to the previous one we were working on, sorry, this one. And if I just simply select everything and then go to copy or copy, and then I paste it here, paste. This thing we created sort of carries with it all the parameters we created. So you'll see that they just appear right there. So one option to do, if you have like a bunch of stuff that you use for all your projects, you could do something like this. You can create a component that has the parameters that you like to use. Cool. All right. So that was that question. So it's 1:23. The plan is to make these only half an hour, just to make it quick. There will be a recording for sure, but let me see if there are other questions that we can answer. I see there are 33 people watching. It's nice. The other question that I can cover in the next 5 minutes was something that people left in the comments before, and I think we can do it. So I'm going to go back here, and actually this is my new project. I'm going to delete. Let's create a new one. I create a new one for this example. New blank project. So someone was talking about creating a quick template that had a state outline and then a name or something where you could put a text with, like, say, a city name. So let me show you how to do that. So let's call it here the state name or outline. And I like this question because it shows that you can also bring other SVGs that you have gotten elsewhere or created from some other place. So the very easy way to find SVGs is there's a website called the Noun Project. And so I'm gonna grab a state outline. So I can search for any state. I could say California, since I'm in California. And there are a bunch of options. I think I'm gonna try something. Oh, I like this very blocky one, very simple. So I'm gonna click there, says get this icon, and I'm just gonna get the basic download, which gives me just like a black outline that is good enough for me. So I'm gonna hit continue. And then it allows me to download an SVG or a PNG. I'm gonna download an SVG. It's right there. And so I can bring that SVG into my Cuddle project. I could just drag the file and place it in there, or I can go to File and Import SVG. Either way works, okay. Oh no, it's easier to drag it. I have too many things there. Let's drag it. I'm just gonna drag it from the files I just got. So there is my SVG. It's very tiny. What is it, 1 inch? Let's make it a little bigger. I'm gonna place it roughly in the center, and I'm gonna scale it by grabbing these handles. I'm kind of seeing that California is a very, it's a very awkward shape to put things inside of it, but we'll try it. Here we go, like a 4x5. It's a very simple outline, and I don't want it to have a fill. I want it to have a simple stroke, like a hairline. I see why people use Texas for the for the example. Texas has like a nice area, but if we want this to be a template, we'll do roughly the same. I'm just gonna grab text. I'm gonna put it where I want it. Let's say I want it centered. I'm gonna align it to the center, middle, and then with that text, again, we can say type the name of a city. It's a short name. That's not a short name. I'm gonna make it smaller by changing the size. I'm gonna give this one a fill because I would wanna engrave it. Let's make the color more visible, like some pink. And then the outline, I'm gonna make it red. This isn't like mandatory, but it kind of makes sense. So there we go. We have an outline, we have the text we want to change, and like the same thing we did before, we can convert this one into a parameter, and the easy way is simply to go here to the 3 dots next to the text, and we call it extract as parameter, and then it just gives it the name text. I could change it right away. I could call the city name if that's what I want. And that's my template. If I go to the README and add that component we created, we have a simple, we have a very simple template. So let's say Los Angeles. And of course, you can add more parameters if you want to change the size or the font and whatnot. But like this was another example for a simple one where we start with an SVG, an existing SVG, and then we add some modifications to it. You know, similarly, if I want to make this one into a keychain, I could simply add a little hole to one side. Without too much trouble, I made the California keychain. All right, cool. So we reached the half an hour. Thank you so much for coming and checking out the live stream and asking questions. I hope this is helpful, and the idea is to do these regularly, so you can like work on your own templates. I'll be putting a recording of these on the Facebook group. Thank you so much for watching.